The wind caught her voice before the truth could. "Take us to town," Eliza Hale said, gripping the saddle horn like it might run from her. Dust swirled around her boots, and the sun behind her burned so bright it turned her grief into a silhouette. Calder Boone didn't answer at first. He stood by the corral fence, jaw set, hat pulled low, eyes fixed on the horizon as if it held something only he could see. One hand rested on the rail, steady, unbothered, but the other twitched just once like a memory passing. "Eliza," he finally said, voice low, rough as gravel under a wagon wheel. "You sure you want to go back there?" Her little sister clung to her skirt, staring up at Calder like a man carved from rock. The horses behind him snorted, restless. Even they knew what that ride meant. "I don't want to," Eliza said, "but I need to." Something in her tone, quiet, breaking, pulled his gaze to hers. She didn't cry. Widows didn't waste tears in the desert. But her breathing shook like a house in a storm. Calder wiped dust from his hands, then stepped closer. "If I take you to town," he said, "you ride back home. No disappearing. No staying where the trouble is." Eliza swallowed. The silence between them stretched, thick as smoke. Then she nodded once. A promise. The saddle leather creaked as Calder swung up onto his horse, an old bay with scars under its mane. He didn't look at her when he spoke again, just tugged the reins and said, "Mount up. We leave before the sun drops low enough to make men stupid." The three of them rode out across the open land, hooves crushing brittle grass, dust trailing behind like ghosts trying to keep up. The sky was too wide for comfort, an endless bowl of white-hot blue, pressing down until breath felt expensive. From the ridge, Calder paused and looked back at his home, a lonely ranch house, barely more than timber and tin. It stood against the emptiness like it refused to fall. Below, the road to town cut through red earth like a scar. Eliza watched him, trying to read the man everyone whispered about. Some said he had once been a devil with a rifle. Some said he'd buried his guns forever after the war. Some said the silence around him was proof he'd killed too many to keep talking. Nobody knew for sure. A vulture circled overhead. A sign, or just nature doing what nature does. Hard to tell out there. Calder spoke without turning. "Town's changed since you last saw it." "So have I," she answered. His jaw tightened. He believed her. They rode on, and every mile felt heavier, like the land itself knew what waited in town. The wind carried the sound of far-off church bells, or maybe that was just memory playing tricks. Either way, the road didn't care. It only led forward, and they followed. The first door they passed slammed shut before their horses even stopped moving. Eliza straightened in the saddle, eyes narrowing at the stillness. No chatter, no footsteps, just wind pushing dry grass across the hard-packed road like it was trying to sweep the place clean of memory. Calder's horse shifted beneath him, ears twitching. He didn't speak, but his hand rested near the saddlebag where a gun might still live if a man broke a promise. A curtain moved. Someone watching. The sheriff's star glinted from a poster nailed crooked to a post. The name beneath, it was the same name that lived in Eliza's nightmares. Her breath hitched just once. Calder dismounted without a word. The wood of the saloon porch groaned under his boots like it remembered him. Eliza stayed mounted, staring at the building across the street, the old undertaker's shop, where she had last seen her husband's body laid cold and raw. Her voice came out small. It wasn't supposed to happen here. Calder didn't look back. Bad men prefer places that pretend to be good. The saloon doors creaked open, slow as a dare. Two men stepped out, guns on hips, hats low, smirks already in place. Hired hands, the kind who like being told who to hurt. "Well, look here," the tall one drawled. "Thought you left town for good, widow." Her fingers tightened around the reins, knuckles turning white. Calder didn't move an inch. "We're just passing through, not looking for trouble." The shorter man spat in the dirt. "Trouble don't care if you're looking or not." The long silence that followed wasn't fear, it was calculation. Calder's eyes never reached their guns. They stayed fixed on their faces, studying, measuring, and something in his stare made both men shift their feet just slightly. Eliza swung down from her horse then, feet hitting the ground harder than she meant to. "I came to bury what's left," she said. "That's all." The tall man's grin folded. "That ain't your call anymore. Sheriff says you're trespassing on his peace." Calder stepped once between them, not protecting, but positioning like a man who already knew where bullets would fly if they were foolish. "You tell your sheriff," he said low. "That peace bought with blood ain't peace at all." Another curtain moved. Another door locked. It wasn't just fear living in this town. It was guilt. Eliza looked toward the cemetery on the hill. Wind bent the weeds over crooked stones, and the only sound was the church bell rusted into silence. "Just let me lay flowers," she whispered. The tall man hesitated. The short one didn't. His hand brushed his holster. Calder's voice dropped to a whisper that could split bone. "Don't." The man froze. Something in that one-syllable cut deeper than any gunshot. And for the first time since they'd arrived, the town felt like it remembered him. It felt afraid. The saloon doors crashed open before the echo of boots even faded. Sheriff Markham stood framed in the doorway, coat flapping like a vulture's wing, hand already resting on the polished grip of his revolver. His men filled the room behind him, not proud, just paid. Calder didn't turn. He sat at the corner table, elbows on the scarred wood, whiskey untouched. Eliza stood a few steps back, her sister clinging to her skirts, heart thundering loud enough to hear. "Well, be damned," Markham said, voice slick as oil. "Look what the dust blew back." No one in the room breathed. Chairs stopped rocking. Carts stopped shuffling. Even the flies seemed to freeze. "Didn't think you'd show your face again," Eliza said, voice steady but shaking at the edges. Markham smiled like the devil had taught him how. "Didn't think you'd be foolish enough to come back." Calder lifted his eyes just enough to meet his. Calm, empty, the kind of quiet that comes before thunder. Markham scoffed. "You brought a ranch hand to protect you? Bad trade, even for a grieving widow." A few men chuckled, only until Calder stood. The room went still as a dead man's breath. He didn't reach for a weapon, didn't posture, just stood. And with that single motion, something changed in the air, like the dust itself remembered. Markham frowned. "You? I know you." Calder said nothing. Whispers ran through the crowd like a fuse catching fire. "That's him. Can't be. He died at Antietam." Markham's expression cracked, just for a heartbeat. "No," he muttered, searching Calder's face. "You were a ghost story they told in the trenches." Calder's reply was slow. "Ghosts don't bury themselves. Men do." Eliza looked at him then, not like a rancher, not like a stranger, but like someone noticing a flame in the dark that had been burning the whole time. Markham stepped forward, jaw tight. "That name died with the war." Calder's voice dropped to something colder than steel. "The ghost of Antietam didn't die. He just wanted to." Gasps. Silence. A single glass shattered in the corner, like punctuation. Markham's smile returned, but weaker now. "You think a legend scares me?" Calder finally touched the gun, still holstered at his side. "Not drawing, just remembering." "I don't care what scares you," he said. "I care what stops you." Eliza stepped forward, paper clutched in her hand, proof of everything the sheriff had stolen. "This ends tonight." Markham nodded to his men. Guns shifted. Sunlight caught steel. The room held its breath. And Calder Boone, the man who had tried his whole life to stop being a legend, let that legend breathe again. His eyes sharpened. His stance settled. A storm began in his bones. The storyteller's voice drifted through memory like wind over a grave. Some men were born for peace. Some were born to finish what others started. The first gunshot didn't come from Calder. It came from fear. A deputy fired wild, desperate, and the bullet split a whiskey bottle instead of bone. Glass rained down like shattered time. Calder moved before the sound even finished. No hesitation, no hate, just precision. One shot, one man down, a silence that roared. Markham's revolver cleared leather, too slow. Calder's second shot hit the post beside his hand, splintering wood, knocking the sheriff sideways. A warning, a promise. Eliza pulled her sister behind the overturned table, heart pounding loud enough to drown out the echoes. The saloon filled with smoke and terror. Men who had sworn loyalty began to rethink what loyalty was worth. Calder walked through the chaos like a memory rising from the grave, steady, unflinching, eyes colder than the steel in his hand. A deputy rushed him with a knife. Calder didn't step back. He pivoted, grabbed the man's wrist, and ended the fight with the butt of his gun. No wasted movement. No cruelty. Just finality. Markham scrambled behind the bar, reloading with shaking fingers. "You're supposed to be dead." Calder's voice rolled through the room like thunder without rain. "I was. But you made me remember who I was before I buried that name." The sheriff fired, twice, both bullets missing as Calder stepped into their path and answered with the final shot. Markham staggered back, hand pressed to his chest, disbelief drowning his eyes. He felt like a man who finally realized justice was coming whether he believed in it or not. The room held still. Even the smoke seemed to stop drifting. No cheers. No applause. Just breathing. Exhausted, human alive. Calder holstered the gun and didn't look at the bodies. He looked at Eliza. "It's done," he said. She didn't speak. She just placed her flowers on the saloon bar, letting the petals fall among spilled whiskey and gunpowder. Closure. Messy, incomplete, but real. They rode out at dawn. The sun wasn't up yet, but the sky was pale like the world was trying to forget the night. The town watched from behind windows and broken pride. No one stopped them. No one dared. Eliza rode beside Calder, tears finally allowed. Not out of grief, out of release. "I'll keep my promise," she said quietly. "I'll go home." Calder nodded, eyes fixed ahead. The ranch waited like a memory that had refused to die. Halfway down the long red road, Eliza turned to him. "What'll you do now?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Legends do not retire. They disappear. Maybe he'd ride until his name became dust again. Maybe he'd vanish into the hills like stories said he once did. But the old storyteller's voice would remember. Some say he was just a rancher who did what was right. Others swear he was a ghost wearing a man's skin. Either way, when justice called, he rode.